What's up, guys? NorbCam here with a Seahawks NFL update. Today is an important day in the preseason time because all the teams had to, at 4 o'clock today, cut their rosters down from the 90-person count to 75. So those cuts have been made. So the Seahawks now have it down to 75, and these are the guys they had to let go of. The first one, probably the biggest name out there that I was a little disappointed to see go, but wasn't surprised, was Brandon Browner. I was excited when I heard that he was coming back. Excited to see how they might use him. Saw him in training camp as a backup strong safety to Cam Chancellor, but he didn't get much playing time, during most of these preseason games so far, and he just, I think they were, trying to see if he could still cover. He just didn't have the speed out there. He's a step slow. He was already a bit slow to begin with. Thought maybe they'd use him in some kind of man-to-man situations, but the reality is there's too many good guys between Chancellor and Kelsey McCray. There just really wasn't a spot for him. So sad to see him go because there's a nostalgic part of me that just want to see the LOB back together, but ain't going to happen, at least not at this current iteration. So Brandon Browner is on the street. And here's what the rest of the changes look like. So there's the waived with an injury designation. And what this means is these players, if they clear waivers tomorrow, they would end up on Seattle's injured reserve list. So that's wide receiver Deshaun Fox, running back George Farmer, DB Javon Reed, defensive end Josh Shirley, and wide receiver Kevin Smith. So we'll see if those guys clear waivers tomorrow. And then they will still be technically on the team under their injured reserve list. So other players that they waived was wide receiver Montario Hunter, fullback Kyle Coleman, defensive tackle D'Angelo Tyson, running back Zach Brooks. He was the first one to go. I knew it was going to be a tricky. We have a stockpile of running backs, and Brooks, did not get to a whole lot of carries there, and there were just so many guys ahead of him who were making plays. So he's gone. Linebacker Quayshawn Neely, linebacker Pete Robertson, guard Christian Sokoli, and surprisingly center Patrick Lewis also waived today. That one's a little bit of a surprise too, because last year Patrick Lewis kind of came in and saved the day as center after the experiment at center didn't work out so well in the first part of the season. Patrick Lewis came in and showed he could be a solid guy in there and kept things, got the things calmed down on the offensive line, and suddenly things started to gel. And I got to figure the reason they're releasing him is because Justin Britt, who is the new center this year, has been playing pretty well, and I think he's pretty much locked up the job, and I'm not sure what they're going to do as far as backups concerned in that position, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with any of these guys after they're waived, if anyone finds a job somewhere else. Otherwise, they could still be available on the street there. So, and then finally, you may have heard over the weekend they signed Will Tukuafu, who was just kind of floating around out there, was fullback last season, and they waived fullback Jonathan Amosa. So Tukuafu is in it at fullback, which I was excited to see because that guy is a human refrigerator back there, and it's cool to see him back there banging bodies in I formation, help lead the way for Thomas Rawls, Kristen Michael, and company. So there you go. So those were the cuts that got the team down to 75-man roster. So we got Thursday, final preseason game against the Raiders, Thursday night. And then on Saturday, the team will have a 1 p.m. deadline. All the teams will have a 1 p.m. deadline to cut their teams down to the final 53-man roster. So they'll have to cut 22 more guys. That's like 2 full teams, 2 full squads down to get to the 53. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up on the chopping block. It's going to be tough though, because they've got depth. They get depth at cornerback, wide receiver, running back. Some of these really good guys are gonna be out. So it'll be interesting to see Thursday night game, if for nothing else, we know it's really nothing compelling as far as what's at stake, but what is at stake for the players are their jobs. So some of these guys are going to be fighting for special teams positions, running backs, like I said, receivers, and so keep an eye on that. It's going to be interesting to see who makes the cut and what jobs will be saved by an outstanding performance Thursday night against the Raiders. So, moving along, I wanted to talk a little bit about my view of the state of the team so far. And having watched the first 3 preseason games, I didn't really watch much of the first one because I was out of town then, but having watched at home the last 2, I think what I'm really impressed with is our offensive line. I think the line has been playing really solidly, and that's, of course, been the biggest concern in the offseason. What was our offensive line going to look like? And they look pretty good. They look great on the run and pass protection. I think they've been doing a pretty good job as well. There were a few sacks given up in the Vikings game, but that was a lot of those were on Russell for holding on the ball too long and trying to make a play happen that he probably should have just at that stage of preseason just get rid of the ball. Don't risk taking unnecessary hits. So I'm glad to see they cleaned that up at the Cowboys game. I don't think Russell got sacked at all, if I recall. So, line's been doing great. Other standouts that I'm really excited to see. Got to give props to Kristen Michael, who, for all those who've ever listened to me on broadcast, I have not been a Kristen Michael fan since the beginning. Too many issues with the way he carried the ball, fumbling the ball, pass blocking. I'd say in almost every facet of his game, he's improved on that, particularly just protecting the ball. I mean, I don't think he's fumbled the ball at all once in the preseason. And you can see he's making a concerted effort to make sure he puts the ball in the opposite hand away from contact. And when he is about to take contact, he puts his 2 hands over the ball and makes sure he doesn't lose it. Because I'd rather see him, put 2 hands on the ball, maybe lose a yard or so, not going for that extra stride than to try to make a big play and then lose it in the process. So all that stuff, glad to see. And he's caught the ball pretty well too, which he hasn't always been his strong suit. So at the same time, I think a lot of people have been thinking, maybe he's going to threaten Thomas Rawls' position as starting running back. I don't think so. I think Rawls, it's easy to forget when you haven't seen him play in a while. And obviously Rawls has been sidelined since the injury against the Ravens last year. That guy's a beast. And you forget how good he was. The guy is a playmaker, and not just fast. Christian Michael is fast, but Rawls powers through contact, as we all compared him to beast mode when he started making plays last season. So I think Rawls is going to come back roaring. I think he looks ready to go. I expect he's going to jump right back in, and there might be a little bit of rust, not having played full speed contact right away. So I anticipate a bit of a slow start, but in time, I believe he's going to show everybody why he's the number 1 running back on the team. So I'm excited to see him back out there. I know everybody else should be as well. But Christian Michael is definitely a solid number 2. And then it just gets interesting after that between Procise and Troy Main Pope. Those guys have all shown flashes of greatness in the preseason, making big plays. So the team's gonna have a lot of tough decisions to make this weekend. But more things I'm excited about is Paul Richardson got a touchdown in the Cowboys game on a beautiful pass from Russell Wilson. I think Richardson's going to be one of those guys who will be sort of a surprise impact player this year. Not a surprise in that he never had the ability to do so. It's just we haven't, again, seen him so long that you almost forget that he's there. But if he can stay healthy, and that's a big if because he hasn't shown that in the last 2 seasons, but if he can stay on the field for the whole season, imagine Lockett and Richardson rocket blasting down the field, stretching defenses and then opening up things underneath for Baldwin and Curse and Graham and Wilson. it's going to be awesome. Those guys can take the top off the defense there. So I think that's the addition of Richardson in this offense is going to be a huge boost to everybody else. So I guess he's sort of my wild card player, that impact player that I think is going to be a huge impact for this coming season. So what else? Oh, that the highlights everywhere, but the play where Russell Wilson scrambled in the pocket, did a couple of 360 spins to get away from pressure, scrambled right, and then found Tyler Lockett floating his way to the pylon of the corner of the end zone for a touchdown as his final play in the last preseason game, was awesome. I mean, that's Russell Wilson, vintage Russell Wilson, doing his thing right there. And man, it's just great. And from everything I'm hearing and from what I've seen, Russell is just on top of his game. Physical things aside, in terms of, just occasional bad throws here and there, he has completely got command of this offense, and calling the assignments at the line of scrimmage, calling the plays, make sure everybody's set. That's the kind of stuff there that up here he's only getting better every single year, and physically, he's just continuing to do what he does. So I expect just another, amazing season from Russell Wilson this year. Will they pass the ball more and become more of a pass-oriented team? I don't think so. That's not the philosophy of Pete Carroll. I still think in general we're going to be in the 20s as far as passing. If we're playing our game plan, Russell will be throwing in the mid-20s, maybe high 20s in terms of number of pass attempts each game. But, I think maybe there's just a slight edge that, there's maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more than he would in previous years. So don't expect him to be chucking the rock around, more than 30 times a game. But I expect high 20s with an occasional dip into the 30s. I just think, as this receiving core continues to blossom and expand, and Russell grows with them, I think it's going to be hard not to keep going to those guys if they keep tearing it up. So let's hope that all comes together. Good line protection, good blocking, running backs playing hard, running smart, and receivers and tight ends tearing it up, and Wilson getting them the ball. I'm super excited about this season. So excited that I'm excited to tell you that on Friday, this Blue Friday, after the Raiders game, I'm launching a brand new music video, and it's a tribute to the fans. So I probably have more fans in this video coming up than I've ever put out there. So I'm excited to put this one out. Chances are, if you've been around me at any course during the last couple seasons or in the preseason, you might see your face on there. So look for it this Friday, Blue Friday morning. Going to release it. So excited to get it to you. Fun video. Real quick, there are a couple of teams notably, that are having major quarterback issues, and makes you so grateful that we don't have quarterback issues, and in fact have 2 very good quarterbacks right now in Russell and in their backup Boykin. I think he's proved himself that he's going to be the guy, and it's nice to have a nice 1-2 combination with guys who are playmakers. So 2 teams who are in big-time quarterback trouble. As you know, Cowboys' Tony Romo was knocked out of the game and turned out to have a fractured bone in his spine as a result of the hit by Cliff Averill. Some people have said that's a cheap shot. I don't think so at all. It was just bad luck. The way he landed on him, the way that Romo was going down, kind of bent him over and folded him in half, kind of put the stress on his back. It's unfortunate that it happened that way. So Cowboys are in trouble, at least as far as the Romo believers are concerned, but their backup was doing pretty darn good. So I don't know if you trusted into a guy like that to carry you through the season, but they may be looking for a quick replacement to get them an experienced guy at quarterback. Same goes to the Vikings, who today, Teddy Bridgewater just tore his ACL and is going to be out for the season. And so they're another team that's hurting for quarterback. And whether either of those teams go with their current backups or they look elsewhere for guys who might be available. Those who are floating around there that are available, potentially Josh McCown of the Browns, Kaepernick's fate, still to be determined with the 49ers, with all of his sitting down controversy with the national anthem going on. Who knows how much that's going to affect his status on the team. But I wouldn't be surprised if Kaepernick, they owe him a lot of money, guaranteed money, like $11 million this year. But he's been a distraction for sure, and he hasn't proven that he's the guy he used to be. So we'll see if Kaepernick stays around. Mark Sanchez of the Broncos, crazy, huh? Broncos go from Super Bowl winners last year to now a crazy quarterback carousel over there. Mark Sanchez is rumored to likely be gone when it looked like he was going to be the starter over at the Broncos. Geno Smith, same thing, probably on his way out from the Jets. E.J. Manuel from the Bills. Mike Glennon from the Bucks, maybe on the street. Michael Vick is still looking for a job. And then Austin Davis, and former Ram and former Brown quarterback, also one of those guys that could be out there to get picked up by one of these teams. So we'll see what happens there. Sean Hill is their current backup on the Vikings. Also, I believe, played on the Rams. Anyway, he's their current backup, and we'll see if they decide to make a move or, what goes next. It's nobody cares about the backup quarterback till something like this happens. So a little crazy. But anyway, that's it for the latest. So again, watch my music video on Friday. Can't wait to share it with you. And we'll watch the Seahawks and all the rest of the team's final preseason game before the teams finally make their cuts. And we are on to the regular season next week, baby. Woo! It's going to be great. So stay tuned. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Go Hawks.